No joke. We're legitimate.
Let's fucking do this. Then do it. Do it 100% because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You got to be a champion, become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
Welcome to episode 32 of the Coach's Show. I'm Coach Mike Bianca of the New Orleans Hurricanes with my friend and co-host Ryan Gray, coach of AC Diesel. Shortly, we will get an update from our ICPL correspondent Chris Hudson regarding the most recent Texas Classic event. And our special guest tonight is Brandon Short, or B Short, legendary player for the Los Angeles Ironmen and San Diego Dynasty, and now coach of Austin FSU in the NXL European League. We'll dive into his group's performance at the Portugal Invitational and do a virtual field walk of the British Invitational layout, which looks to be fun. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Maxed Sportswear. For all your custom paintball goods, get Maxed and BKI, the best knowledge in paintball. Let's get started and hop into the show tonight. It's good to see you, Ryan. How you been?
You too, my friend. Yeah. We were talking with Brandon, before we went live, and it's interesting. We were talking about how sick I am of this Texas layout. Like, I'm so ready for this thing to be done. And tomorrow, I'm sure people will send messages. We'll figure out a way to go live tomorrow and do it'll maybe like 30, 40-minute virtual field walk. It's going to be really fast. But nonetheless, we will do that tomorrow for the divisional teams that are getting a layout. We won't leave you hanging. But nonetheless, we were kind of talking about just like this 6-week, with having the layout. Guys are watching the videos and I'm like telling them what's about to happen in the game. And it's just insanity. Like, I'm so ready to be done with it. I'm so ready. And I'm sure like the 10 teams that aren't playing this are just like, hey, we're just having fun playing random layouts. And,
See, I wish I could say that. I'm just as tired of that layout as the Canes are because, kind of worked it a little bit more to understand mistakes. So, yes, I'm not a fan anymore, but I am looking forward to the conclusion of the event. I think that's going to be all these 10 teams with 6 weeks to study this and get ready for it. It's going to be fun to watch.
Well, we're certainly going to dig into that next Tuesday with Shane Pastana and Skinny as we do our very interesting pick'em show for AC, because we have no brackets. We have no real data to work with as far as how teams are going to match up against each other, because we'll have no idea. So we're going to have some fun with that for sure. So I have obviously some guys that played the ICPL in Texas from AC. In fact, we had, I believe, 3 10-man teams and 4 5-man teams. So there were a bunch of AC guys playing down there. And exciting. Chris is going to tell us all about that event. We already talked a little bit about it last week with Tom Cole, but very briefly, just about how awesome the weather was and how fantastic the ground at the field was, which I'm sure Chris is going to get into for us. So let's bring Chris in and get an update.
Yeah. Shout out to my friend and teammate, Mike Brown, who played down there with one of your crew, I believe. So he was having a good time down there. So Chris,
welcome to the show, buddy.
Well, let's just come out with it. AC got their win. They have been trying to get that win for a hot minute. They got the win. They did an incredible job. Mark Johnson, Pauly, those guys fought hard. The conditions were rough for everybody. And there was no Texas advantage. A lot of people are saying that in some of the social media spaces. No, that was just hard fought, really smart paintball, playing the points, playing the margins, understanding what it was going to take to move on, move up. And I'll be honest, those guys have gotten really close to a few times. They've done better in the 5-man. This is really the first time, like, start to finish, played really well. Obviously, I'm dismayed. Cap Factory and Farside. I played for Farside at this event. We went undefeated in the prelims. I mean, we were unbeatable. I mean, we beat AC in the prelims handily, and it was rather shocking to get to that point. We won 9 of our 10 games, right? But that's the way 10-man works. You can be almost perfect, and that isn't good enough. You have to play the points. You have to have a strategy to overcome each round of 10-man paintball. Prelims are one thing. It allows you to mix it up, shake up what's working. You kind of have a sense of what fields you'll play in the finals. And the 3 fields at this event were really unique. I know Tom was on here a week ago talking about the hybrid field and how they essentially had to rebuild the field on the fly. They took a field that, and I'm not a measurement guru, I'm not a mathematician. I know Ryan's probably going to break out some sort of spreadsheet and grid that was sent to him through Stratosphere Space or a drone or whatever. But I let's just say for hypothetical purposes, the field was 100 yards long or 90 yards long, right? They shortened that thing a third to be able to play the event, because on the second day when we showed up, there was that much water after 5-man to start the 10-man. The water had just consumed. They'd been releasing this water from this levee or this dam from the agricultural lands in Texas south, and it just mopped this place up. And the field owner didn't grade it. He was trying to think about what the field would look like after the tournament left, and wanted to protect what he had to make do with after he left. But, players' really biggest complaint was the terrain. It was wet. It was muddy. I'll be honest, guys. It was paintball. I don't understand what all the pissing and moaning was about. It was paintball. You got to dive into the mud. I don't know what half of them were complaining about. So if you're a cheater, it was a cheater's dream. I mean, if you got shot in the shoulder or the stomach, the legs, or whatever, you were sliding through mud for 10 feet. There was nothing there when the ref got there. So I don't know what you're complaining about, because some of you had an advantage beyond all other advantage. I was shocked that people got majors, because that means it had to be extra blatant for you to have not used your surroundings to make it go away. I'm not trying to sign on or suggest people should cheat, but if you are a cheater and you failed to cheat in that environment, you're bad at it. Okay, you weren't just trying. You were not trying. You're just really bad at cheating. And I think the big challenge here is when you look at AC, they didn't cheat. They played hard. They won points. I mean, there was a lot of questionable stuff on the hyperball. I think people would say, in the semis and in the finals from AC. And I would say I saw it on both sides. And the refs did the best they could in the environment that they were in. I played in the 1, the 2, and the 3, and I can tell you this. I fell on my ass 3 separate times in all 3 positions, okay? I'd break out to the corner shooting left on the hybrid field and just know damn well that it wasn't worth breaking or stopping. Just keep shooting and hope that the gun doesn't smash into your teeth when you land. I mean, that was the goal. And if you were up the gut, you just had to hope that both you and the other guy had agreed you weren't going to shoot each other till your brakes turned on. I mean, like, that was kind of the deal. There were Apache helicopters in the middle of the hybrid field. It was a phenomenal, even with the adjustment, even shortening the field. They turned a 10-man field into a 5-man slaughterhouse. I don't think a game lasted past 5 minutes on this 10-man field. I think that's a first all time. They also had an airball field. Conceptually incredible. They had Dallas Stars. They had a temple on it. They had a really unique Dorito field. It was wide open, so you had to run all the way to the 30, all the way to the 40, plain Jane, out in the middle of it. You either duck and weave and pray to God you slide through mud better than the next guy or not. And the snake was really interesting. It had a car wash on the side of it. You had to go in and out of. Now, watching guys break out the snorkels and the paddles, I think people are seeing probably online in the ICPL photos, there's guys doing cannonballs. There was a guy who said, I'm going to break off the box. I'm going to run. I'm going to do a cannonball at the Dorito 3 because no one's run to the Dorito 3 all day because it's underwater. And this guy ran out there and he did a cannonball. He still didn't get shot, guys. He did a cannonball in the middle of a 10-man tournament and didn't get shot. It's mind-blowing. Guys' guns were frying, water pouring out hoppers, water pouring out barrels. But that is 10-man classic paintball. You don't get to complain about it. You don't get to go ask for AstroTurf. You don't get to go ask for someone to wipe you down. You wipe yourself down. I think most guys spent 20, 30 minutes in between matches just dumping mud out of pods trying to – because, of course, we're all bougie. We don't shut our lids. Why would we do that? Someone else is going to pick that up. yeah, we all had to clean our own stuff, and everybody had to constantly pick their cleats out, and the porta potties were half mud and half prayer, like that. That's kind of the way it was, right? Mark Johnson, thank God, saved all of us. Shout out to the food operations from Dilly Dilly, the Plano Tortilla Factory. Just the food was incredible. I mean, I'm a little dubious of on-site food like that. You don't know what the outcome's going to be. I think we talked about Mexico, the fortitude.
Sure.
Nobody had problems. This food was on point. I think everybody walks away from the event remembering, shit, it was muddy and the food was awesome. Now, I will say this. Making it out of the prelims, reffing was incredible. Penalties were on point. They were legitimate. They really, really were. They had a shortage of referees at one point, and the refs really did a great job of positioning, I think, correctly to try to capture as much as they could to create parity, to create equity for every player that stepped on the field. The amateur team slugged it out all day. I don't remember hearing anything from them. It's always the pro divas. It's the 3 or 4 guys that come from Pro NX. Oh, it's too muddy. I don't know if I want to do that. And we talked about this ahead of time, right? Do these guys really want to go get injured? I mean, and there was some danger. Guys were landing on metal, landing on spikes, landing on rocks, landing in holes. It was extremely dangerous. The third field was the hyperball field. That's where the finals were played. Not symmetrical the way one would think. Breaking off the top side versus breaking off the bottom side was like night and day. Degrees of deviation one could not explain, but it was awesome. I mean, if you could figure out how to get there and make some really cool shots, play creatively, this was like the field that was designed for Kenny Clamper. So when you watched Mark Johnson dive into the snake, you thought he went from the 50 ghetto into the snake. People had to play creative. That was really cool because you had to bank on the guy with the best position who could get their feet physically unstuck from the mud to make it to the next prop. Period. And I watched Mark do it all over the field. Just incredible. They earned every minute of that. I watched Pauly go back and forth the back line and just rip and paint. And GI paint shot phenomenal. Now, here's what I will say. The teams fought really, really hard. If you actually think about what people were in it for, we talked about this previously to the show, Ryan. This was a major event, right? This is a 100-point event. That is double the points of any affiliate. So right now the standings, I mean, frankly, they're a little rough, right? The standings as they are today mean Chicago Aftershock is in first place by 16 points. Farside is in second place, and Image is knocking on the heels 8 points back. Team Smoke's in fourth, Adrenaline's in fifth, MVPS Dark Ops tied for sixth with Louisville Asylum. Infamous played really, really well, but at the end of the day, they battled, and it didn't pan out for them coming in with an 8th place finish. So that's kind of where your rankings are. And people knew where the math was. They knew where it was. That's why you had AC, Cap, Adrenaline, Shock, Farside, Smoke, Image, All-Americans, and Infamous go into the semis. That's a hell of a crew going to slug it out in Texas in the mud. A bunch of old, really wise, mixed with some really young, talented pro players trying to find their way to capitalize on that 100 points. Now we go to Florida. A bunch of other teams are going to go to try to duke it out for their affiliate if they haven't played one yet, or if they need a better score to be able to get that first place. Next up is Pro DNA. So, or pardon me, not Pro DMA, Pittsburgh Classic, which is an incredible event. Everybody knows it. Those fields are phenomenal. They're manicured. They're detailed. There's slight changes on them. Tom will go in there with his crew with Trozen and look at it. Man, the ICPL crew knows how to look at a field and improve it and give it just that little extra twist. People were bitching about, no offense, they were complaining hardcore about Texas. Tom changed that whole thing. Rain or mud aside, they changed the whole thing from what guys said it was to something that made it hyper competitive. The same is going to be true at affiliates. So we go to Pittsburgh, then we go to Paris. Paris is going to be incredible because that is a really easy opportunity for a team who hasn't grabbed their 50-point banger yet to go there and get it. And then we come home, we go to Chicago, last affiliate, hypothetically, before we go to the championship in Florida in February for the 150 points. All I got to say is I think the rankings are so tight at the top, anybody could win the series. And if it tells you anything, AC still not at the top, and they just won an event. So
Yeah.
that's a really interesting dynamic. It just tells you, just like NASCAR, how points have to be calculated to achieve your end goal. If winning an event is your end goal, kudos. AC, you did it. You did it extremely well. If your end goal is winning the series championship, you're going to have to go grab an affiliate, and then you're going to have to show up to the championship in Florida and really throw down, because Aftershock wasn't playing around. They knocked us out. I sat for that game, and I tell you what, it just gnawed at me hardcore, because I'm pretty sure we all know why, I was sat. I'm also the weakest player on the team, but I'm also probably dubiously recorded as someone who may occasionally play for Shock. So I was benched for that game, and watching that happen just pained. Nothing haunts you more than wanting to put a few in Todd and LP and all the crew, right? Like, you just want that moment. I didn't get it. It was an awesome event. Kudos to Tom Cole. Kudos to Jason Trozen. Kudos to everybody for putting up, shutting up, crawling through the mud, playing some freaking paintball, man. And that's all I got for you.
I talked to Tom on Thursday, I think, and he'd been there for several days already, working with the crews, like changing the fields, doing everything that they were doing. Like, Tom was doing the same, like he was doing what everybody else was doing. It wasn't like he was just sitting back managing what was happening. He was
there,
right in the mix. Yeah. So they work hard at trying to make sure that the events are, as high quality as they can make them. They have zero control over when the county releases the dam. Zero.
They didn't have power in their hotel. I mean, yeah, people were complaining at him, like, I'm not even sure that guy showered in hot water last night. Like, I'm not even sure he showered. Like, he had no power. There was a freaking tornado that ripped through Dallas. I have friends and colleagues who didn't have power for like 5 days. And we're over here like, there's 2 inches of mud. How dare they?
Yeah. Shame on them.
I just have to make a quick comment. After that, I almost feel like I should give you a standing ovation after that. I really do. That was an incredible stream of thought. And you do this every time you come on the show, Chris, and I greatly appreciate it. That's why I look forward to it, because it's this epic tale recap. So well done.
Mike, I have a political science degree. We call that a degree in bullshit. And yes, I am a practitioner of such. And I will tell you, I'm proud of it. And that's why they pay me, right? Can't play paintball unless they pay me to do this. So I get paid to do it both sides. You guys just allow me to do it voluntarily for free. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Bobby.
You're certainly welcome. Well earned.
Bobby says so many people probably won't ever visit Texas now. Yeah, I don't think that's true. They're going to move. If you listened to the show last week, Tom talked about this. They're going to move the dates where we're going to stay out. I keep seeing people online too say, like, Texas should be the first event. Well, we tried that. We've tried that. Even went down to Austin or Galveston, made it the first event, got blown out by a hurricane. Then we did Austin, I think that was 2007, and it was 70 degrees on Wednesday, and then 40 degrees at noon on Thursday, and then 26 or so by 5 o'clock on Thursday. So we just need to stay, like, they just need to move Texas to kind of the third weekend of June or later, and it's going to be a little warmer, but at least it won't be muddy, right? At least we won't have to worry about rain. So, Chris, thank you so much, man.
He did say in our last show, he did say we would not be going back to Texas in that time frame.
Yeah, he said January to the second weekend of June. Like, we're not going to Texas. So I think they get it now, right? It's only taken. I think I said this right after the Texas event. I played an event there in 1996 or 7, and it rained the entire event. So
it's rain. It's paintball. As long as there's not lightning, you're okay. You'll be all right.
Yeah, we played.
You can either play or you can't.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thank you so much, buddy. We appreciate you rushing in, doing this. I know you had a dinner right before this, so we appreciate you taking the time, man. Talk soon.
Thanks. See ya.
Wow.
Man, he reminds me of, and I don't mean this derogatorily. I mean this with the utmost respect. He reminds me of my grandfather when he would tell me stories. And I'm just riveted every time he does that.
Same. Yeah, he like when he gets his stream of thought going, he just flows. He just goes.
Yeah. I wish I could do it.
Well, I'm really excited to have Brandon Short come on and visit with us, and we'll try to keep this coaching related. But obviously, Brandon is a legend, probably first ballot iconic player. As soon as he has an opportunity to get on that list, I'm sure it won't even be a thought. He'll be right onto it. I was coaching X Factor 2007 and 8. Brandon was on the Ironman. And he was just so incredibly dangerous. And we'll ask him about this. Took a break for a little while. And then when he came back, I was so excited to see him, kind of make his return. And he was coaching, and then he played a little bit last year, and now he's coaching again. And so kind of dig into a little bit of how that transition occurred, and then talk a little bit about some of the teams that he has coached, and then what his plans are for FSU.
Excellent.
So let's welcome Brandon Short.
Hey. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I am a little upset with the two of you, though.
Okay.
The fact that I have to follow up Chris like that, oh my gosh. I'm sitting over here like, oh, man, what am I going to say?
Yeah,
we'll get to ask you
impressive
questions. So.
Okay, good. I mean, I cannot follow that performance, but I will definitely do my best.
Yeah. Well, on the bright side, we don't expect you to filibuster like he did.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think he did like 13 minutes. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was good.
Brandon, he called me earlier just to verify the time, and he was like, so I get my normal 7 minutes. And I was like, dude, Chris, you've never gone 7 minutes. I was like, you go like 15 to 20 minutes every single time, and we couldn't stop you if we wanted to.
Amazing.
Like
amazing.
Not a 7 minutes in political speak. So
yeah, not a note in sight, just riffing and just killing it. So that was awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah, and the content's great. He nails
awesome.
it.
I wanted to be there. It looked terrible, and I wanted to be there.
Yes. Yeah. I did not.
No,
I had an opportunity to be there, and I got an opportunity to go do a clinic in Kansas, and I was like, yep, going to Kansas. And then I started seeing pictures, and I was like, I'm so glad I'm in Kansas.
Yeah. I mean, he's right, though. It's like you can't avoid it. You're going to run into those events. And I feel so bad for any tournament promoter that happens to. But you've been playing long enough, you're going to get those events. So it's just part of the game.
Yeah. So let's just jump right in, man. Let's talk a little bit about, so first kind of talk about that transition from, again, in my mind, one of absolutely the most dangerous snake players to ever do it. Then kind of transitioned back, and we're an amazing 2. And then you took a little break, if my memory serves me well. And then you come back. I know you jumped in with Dynasty, obviously, to win the World Cup. And then what?
So, I mean, here we are.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is kind of funny being on a coach's show and being considered a coach, because I played paintball my entire life since I was 13 years old. I'm now 37. I think I stopped. I retired when I was 35. And I did that just to kind of like have the rest of my life catch up a little bit. I finished school. I got married, got a job in paintball, but got a job. And, bought a house. We got pregnant, had twins. So like these couple of years that I've stepped away from paintball, I've just had a chance to build the rest of my life. Like it was all paintball. From the moment I went pro at 17, it was just crazy. Like nonstop traveling. It's all I did. I loved it. I had no intentions of doing anything else, never thought about anything else. So it wasn't until recently that I realized, Peter Pan, once in a while, he does have to grow up, sadly. Not completely, but you got to grow up a little bit. So,
right.
All right. So you retired, and then you obviously do adult things, right? Get a family. I call that the collection phase. Yes. You collected a wife, you collected some children, you collected a house, right? And you collected a, real job. And then you get sucked back in to the competitive side of paintball. How did that work?
So when I retired, I don't think I really wanted to retire. I don't think anybody wants to stop. And I just felt it was the right time for me. But with that being said, I was still not only working in paintball, but I was paying so much close attention. Like to play paintball for whatever 15 pro years to just stop. When that first event came around, I was watching, scouting, helping Dynasty, sending notes. So in a way, I kind of walked into that coaching mentality of scouting, of basically playing without playing.
Sure.
So that was kind of like the kickstart. And as I was watching some of these matches, I was taking a lot of detailed notes. I started seeing, patterns, and I'm like, oh man, this would be a good way to practice or do this, do this. I'm like, if I ever got an opportunity to coach, maybe I could apply some of these things. And sure enough, with enough given time, people start asking you to come out and do clinics or come out and coach. And I've passed a lot of them up because it has to be just the right opportunity. But that's kind of where it was my mind, it clicked to that next phase of, I have a lot of this experience and I still have a lot of drive, but I'm not playing. How can you apply that? So using that energy as a coach.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so what was your first sort of coaching experience?
So the first one I did, it's what kind of kickstart the whole Latin Saint story was. I was invited to World Cup with Diego Santos to help his Division II team. And, the opportunity made sense. It was just a quick getaway. And I stepped into the coaching ring, helped out that weekend. We didn't really do much. I don't think we made it past prelims, but the bigger story is I met Diego, who had aspirations of going pro, unbeknownst to me at that event, bought the pro spot. And the rest is kind of history, is the Latin Saint story.
Sure. Yeah. So I remember that event because we played you. It was Austin Notorious.
I know, I completely forgot. And I remember Marky was killing us. I think he had a ponytail. He was going down the Doritos. I'm like, you guys got to shoot this kid. And now we're teammates, which is, I guess that's how paintball works, but
totally. Right.
Yeah.
And so, so the Latin Saint thing falls apart, and then you moved to Manawatu. Was that right after?
No, I think, man, I want to say maybe there was a year off even in between that. And I think I needed a year off. Oh no, you know what? We only played one event with the Latin Saints. So we played the one event, took the rest of the year off. The following year is when I linked up with the New Zealand guys. And truthfully, after the Latin Saints thing, I was like, okay, I need to break again. Let's just focus on the collection, as you call it, right?
Yeah. Keep collecting things. So,
I was collecting.
So you take a little break, you come back with Manawatu in semi-pro, right?
Come back, yep. And I've known those guys because they were playing with Dynasty in Europe. I was playing with the ML Kings, but being on Dynasty, I was kind of with them, helping them. I met Dave, the owner, so we made a connection there. So it made sense. And those guys are awesome, really, really cool guys from New Zealand. The problem with New Zealand is it's literally an island, and there's not a lot of paintball players. And for those guys to come over here and compete, it's just really difficult because the talent pool they have to choose from is so small. But I told them the move is to just keep growing paintball there, grow these players, and try to bring them over to the U.S. So easier said than done, but pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you, Brandon. And so essentially scouting ultimately led you to some conceptual ideas on what you would do if you were ever given the opportunity to coach. So you take this experience and drive of yours, the last 15 years of pro, and you apply it to the Latin Saints situation. Then you take that year off, and then you end up with the New Zealand team. from those concepts and the scouting and all these different things that you said, hey, this would be something I'd want to try if I ever got that opportunity to coach. Did you see these things working? Did you adjust anything? What's something that you were able to bring that you felt was uniquely your own, and and did you end up falling back on just what you would call the standard curriculum that helped teams help teams like Los Angeles Ironmen and San Diego Dynasty?
No, yeah, good question.
I'm sorry.
No. So I think with the Latin Saints, yes. Like I was able to take a lot of my ideas and we applied them at our practices, the limited practices we had. And basically, in my mind, there's a lot of things a coach does, but I think one of the most important, and there's a lot of important things, one of the most important is how do you prepare going into a tournament, right? That is the homework. That is where you put in all your work. Because when you get to the tournament, the work is done. At that point, it's just execution. Yeah, you got to scout, and you also have to, have some audibles and be ready for that. But for the most part, it's how does your team prepare? And me and Oliver Lang used to talk about this all the time. Like, is there a right way to practice? Is there, a proper way to guide the team leading up to an event? Things change over the years. We used to have 2 weekends to break down a layout. Now it's one. So that changes things up a bit. But basically, what do you do with those 2 weeks? Every team practices for 2 weeks. What do you do for those 2 weeks? I think that's some of my ideas were how do I bring the best out of our team in those 2 weeks to go to the tournament.
It's great to hear you say that because I'm a firm believer that events are won at practice. I truly believe that. I believe it's in your preparation, right?
Yeah.
And that preparation usually involves adaptation. So
right.
Anyway, I appreciate that answer. Thank you.
I think at practice, you can't win, but you can lose.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Well played.
Yeah, and we talk about that a lot.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say we talk about that a lot. That the coaching is done at practice.
Right.
As soon as you get to the event, you're managing. You're managing the game. You're managing the personnel. You're managing the clock. Again, you may have some audibles and some situational things that you've talked about that you're going to do based on certain box setups. But the reality is the coaching part is done, right? We're Chris McDonald, Mike says, pull your mic closer, Mike.
Test.
Yeah, so that's better. Yeah, so we talk about that a lot, right? And couldn't agree more with the statement that, preparation and how you prepare. You mentioned the way you and Oliver were talking about it. There certainly is a right way to prepare. Certainly. Right. Like being able to build blocks on how your preparation is going to look through the way the game flow is going to work. And everybody does it different. Mike and I do it different, but our end goal is the same, right? Like we want to get the first part of the game kind of taken care of and cleaned up. And then the second part of the game kind of cleaned up and taken care of. And then we're going to do some closing things. And then we're going to go back and try to put it all together, right? In this sort of play development style of the way we're going to curate the game, right? Here's how I want to try to curate where their guns go. And here's how I want the flow to work. And I want them to be chasing me, not me chasing them. Right.
There's 1,000 ways to do it wrong, just like there's 1,000 ways to do it right.
Totally. Yeah. So let's talk about Austin FSU. So good group of guys. I think there's only 2 guys there from when I coached last year. I think it's just Diego and Markey.
Yep.
So kind of a new look for 2024. All new players, again, other than those 2. I step away as the coach. You come in. Looks like the team kind of picked up right where they left off. But I have some questions really regarding the languages, right? So you have 4 different languages, primary languages being spoke. So you have English, Spanish, Polish,
yes.
Right?
Russian.
And Russian.
Right.
And Russian.
Yeah. So you have 4. How do you manage all of that?
That was actually a misstep. We came together, we practiced a day before the event, and we were so busy trying to break down the field and kind of prepare and get ready for that I think it was our Saturday night meeting going into Sunday that I brought up the fact, like, are we all on the same page about the kill count? Like, what are you guys saying out there? And it turned out some of us were all saying different things. So it's like major misstep on my part. Like the language thing is kind of crazy. It's always hard to play with, a foreign team, but you make it work. So like with FSU currently, we kind of try to link people together, right? Kind of put the Polish guys together if possible. We had Leo Smotrov in the back. He was kind of doing his thing. And then we had, Jero and Markey. The language thing is tough. There's no way of getting around that. That's for sure.
Right. All right.
So
let's see. They're
Go
made
ahead,
up
Mike.
of. I think you've got 4 players from Verst, 2 former Latin Saints, and 2 Notorious, I believe, and then of course Smotrov from Red Legion.
Yes. So the first guys are really good. I think they maybe lack a little experience, but overall, like skill set wise, very good. Most Europeans, like their skill sets are awesome, right? But it's kind of a hodgepodge team, and it's really difficult to bring a team together like that and try to figure it out. Luckily, I would say every player is very dedicated in the sense that they played that particular layout, Ryan's favorite layout, a ton of times. So everybody was able to come to it with some input and some time on the field. So like we were able to kind of, while we lacked teamwork, we had a good feel for the field, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. So
That's
FSU
actually very
finished.
insightful. I'm gonna.
So
I
FSU
found
finished.
this, or they haven't learned bad habits yet. Well played.
Kara. FSU finishes in 8th place last year with a 4th place finish at Drew. It looks like you guys have kind of picked up almost where that group left off, taking 9th place at the first event, really losing in a really tight game against Bad Boys, really tight game. I know those are like heartbreakers, right? When you're right there and
nothing but pain. It went to overtime. First off, we should have never even been in that situation. We gave up a 60-second point to go to overtime and came down to a one-on-one, and they beat us. Very unfortunate. Like it's terrible feeling. But I think, from a coaching standpoint, I felt like we were the next match we were lined up to play the Tauntauns. And we had already beaten the Bad Boys, and it was just a common case of we were overlooking our competition in front of us. We already had some of our sights on the Tauntauns, in my opinion, and we let that team come back and beat us. So I think the team actually played pretty good. We lost to Scalp, who won the tournament, and then we lost that close one to the Bad Boys, but. Team played pretty good for the circumstances.
So you feel like you guys have the right pieces to potentially see another podium this year?
Yeah, I think from a coaching standpoint, maybe I had a little bit of regret, which I hate leaving a tournament with regret. I think positionally, I should have put people in different spots. We put Leo Smotrov in the back more. I think he could have been the 2 on the snake side. We had Markey in the tower leading up to the 50. And I felt it was a very lockdown spot at that tournament for us. And maybe we should have gave him more creativity, more, give him a little bit more to do.
Some freedom. Sure.
Yeah. So like from that standpoint, those were like my regrets. But I think going into the next tournament, I'm going to take that and roll with it and know that, we need to use certain guys in certain ways. So it was definitely a learning experience, and yeah, we'll see how event number 2 shakes out.
That was actually going to be one of my questions. I was going to say, hindsight being 2020 now, Brandon, would you have made, what different adjustments would you have made? Would you have played players in different positions? And you beat me to my question. So
yeah,
the reason I say that is because I was going to ask specifically about Smotrov actually, but it sounds like you're spot on in my opinion. I love coaches that have that accountability and look back and say, I could have done this better. Outstanding.
Yeah, and it was cool seeing Smotrov play again because we haven't seen him in the U.S. for a couple of years, and the guy is phenomenal. But I think like looking at Scalp, who won the tournament, who had Malloy, Malloy attacked the snake, and he did it at an MVP caliber, and he won the event. And Leo is an MVP player as well, so I think we needed to get him more in the mix versus in the back. So, right. But hey, you live and you learn.
If you ever get to a point where you leave an event, even if you won the event and you don't look back and watch video or do things and go, man, I screwed that up. I screwed that up. I screwed that up. I screwed that up. I got to do this better. And kind of beat yourself up, take notes, right? That's when it's probably time to quit coaching.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're like, that's when you think, well, we won the event, so I must have done everything right.
Yeah. I tell the guys at work all the time at HK, it's like, man, we could always be better. We could always be better. So, yeah.
Great attitude.
Yeah. It's great. So you mentioned earlier, you took detailed notes, and that's kind of what led you into this idea of, maybe I'm a coach, right? Maybe I should use kind of my knowledge and experience, and maybe I should be a coach. What kind of tools do you use? Like, do you have, grid sheets, or like, what do you use for data collection, play calling, those kind of things?
For sure. I mean, when it comes to coaching, I'm a rookie, right? I've only done it a few times. So I tried to do the grid sheets because Skinny Kevin did that and I liked it.
Yeah.
But for me, like as I'm watching, it just wasn't really translating for me. It looked just too much data, and I'm like, man, the guys are going to look at this. This is just this. As a player, I know it's going to go over their head as well. So what I like to do is I just take notes, right, and I transfer it. I take my notes onto one final paper. And I just try to show the guys like, hey, here's the one area we can exploit because they're doing this, this, and this. And here's one area that they're winning, right? Like they're running, let's just say the snake. Okay. They're running the snake every game, guys. Shoot the snake. And I just try to simplify it as much as possible. Because I know when I'm at a tournament, there is just so much going on. Things are flying. You're seeing people. You're focused on the tournament, but it's a very hard place to kind of like zone in on it, in my opinion, that you have to simplify it for players and just be like, hey man, they're doing this, let's stop them here, let's do this, and let's do this, and just not overcomplicate things. Because paintball, sometimes you can look at this layout and just drive yourself nuts, right? Like, so try to keep it simple.
Yeah, I'm doing that now for 6 weeks, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But Brandon, you've actually found the keys to the kingdom, and that is, if you can make it simple, if you can make it to where your team, it doesn't matter what team you're coaching, as long as your guys are bought in and understand what your goal is. If you can communicate clearly what you want and need, and they get it, then that's what matters. That's the key to being successful. So yes, keep it simple, stupid. KISS.
Yeah, that's it. So. That is it.
Yeah,
I'm anxious to see another element of your coaching when we get to it. So
we're at it. Unless you have any other questions. Yeah.
No, I actually have a lot, but I understand people are. I love it when we have a coach like you said yourself. You said I'm a rookie at this, but come on, you've got 15 years experience with one of the, with probably the greatest, organization in the history of professional paintball, and its predecessor to that, right, the Ironmen. So it's interesting to see that insight from a player's perspective now rolling into, because a lot of us say this. A lot of us say that just because they were a good player doesn't necessarily translate well to being a good coach. But I like how you said, as a player, I wanted this type of thing. This stuff would have been a overman, so I tried to simplify it. To me, that's a very important aspect. So I do have a lot of questions about that. We'll talk later about it, but I do want to get into this next portion with you to see how you see things.
Cool.
So I use the grid, and I have some players that I give it to, and then I have others that I put things. Seeing if I had it here and I don't. That I put things
crayons.
Well, like
crayon, I was gonna say,
yeah,
like on a layout, right? On a layout with like a number that says like 22 of 35 and point which way their gun was off the break.
Yep.
And then like 18 of 35 and point where their gun was off the break, right? Like, and I send that to some players, right? Because there's some that really want the very deep. Because I go even to details of like whether or not they dove, hip slide. I have all of those kind of things on my notes. Not everybody wants to see all of that, right? But the players who want the really detailed stuff, I want them to have it. The ones that don't, I'm good with that too. Like if they just want to know the nuts and bolts, I'll give them the nuts and bolts.
One of the best paintball coaches, in my opinion, is Shane Pastana. And, maybe he's changed over the years, but I mean, this thing was not his go-to. That is not his
still
strength.
No, still not.
And he, in my opinion, is the best coach. I can give you 100 reasons why, but he, that's nothing. It's something, but it's just, there's so much more to the game, to teamwork, to paintball, to winning. So yeah.
Yeah.
Shane's a great motivator too. He'll draw performances out of people.
Exactly.
Right?
Like that's my number one trait for Shane, is he was able to bring the best out of everybody. He was able to bring everyone together to see that common goal, and for us to all kind of, walk hand in hand together towards that goal. I don't know. Like the guy I played a lot of sports in my life, and he was by far the best coach I ever had. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we love Shane. He's going to be on the show next week.
Yeah, amazing guy, amazing human, and great guy.
He is one of the guys that when I see them, and I have a handful, right? When I see them at an event, I feel better. You know what I mean? Like just seeing his face kind of coming at you, like right away, I kind of feel better. Like I can't wait to hug him and catch up a little bit. Like he's just got that kind of personality.
Yeah, and you want to win. You want to win for Shane. When you played with him, you wanted to win for him. You never want to let him down. He always had a good expression too. That he always said the axe is sharp.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I always love that. He always had his like one line.
That
was one of them. Yeah, the axe is sharp.
And he keeps proving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that team has been turned over like 3 times in the last 4 years. He continues to prove that if you don't perform, we'll start over. And they're not afraid.
Nope.
That's a good question. Eric says, as a player, what should we expect out of a coach or an organization? That's a big question.
Yeah. I was actually responding to him in the comments when you pulled it up. I said, I'll stop. And I was going to say, that's a complicated question and takes some nuances and really surrounds the culture. But he also asks, or what standards should they be held to? And I would say the highest possible that you can extract out of each other. And that goes for the coach as well. So
one thing I'll say about that I thought about, and this comes from playing on Dynasty, is that the coach is not always going to be the messiah. When it comes to paintball, everyone needs to come together. When we have a team meeting, and I've seen this, when I was on Dynasty, everybody had a voice in the room. We all talked, and it was everybody putting an input. Now, when I go to less experienced teams, everyone's eyes on me, and it's like, I'm not Chris. I can't riff for 13 minutes. Like, I'm going to give you a few things, but I need to hear from everybody for data, for just getting, the stew stirring. So I think, a coach is very important. Should always kind of have the final word, and that's kind of what he's there for, kind of like a judge.
Yes.
But he should not be the messiah. He should be the sixth player. He should be the leader on the team. But everyone needs to step up and come to the table with something.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. I think that's the keys to the success of the Hurricanes, is that we are very much a unit. I take data from everybody. I take insight from everybody. And ultimately that's what comes out. Right. And then to your point, right, as the leader, that is the final decision. This is what we're doing. Right. Based off the feedback and the data that we've received. To your other point, though, when you go to these divisional teams and you're coaching these divisional teams, in my opinion, at that point, yes, all eyes should be on you, because you're bringing an experience that they're probably not used to. I think at that point, what it's about confidence. A lot of times I look at my players and I'll say, hey, I'm thinking this, how you feeling? And I love it when a player comes in and says, hey, coach, I saw this, I want to try this. And if they're that confident about it, then I will build a play around that guy and that concept, and we'll go for it. Right. So I think there are a lot of different nuances to this whole coaching thing. There's no specific great book to it, but I think you're on the right path. And I think Ryan and I are still on our paths, and those paths never end. I think there'll always be opportunity to grow and become better and add something to the toolbox. So.
I tell my guys all the time, I'm you. I'm just one of you. Like I'm just another cog in this whole wheel, trying to help it continue to move round and round. And without you, there is no me. And without me, there is no you. So like we have to do this in a synergistic way. And I tell them all the time, like, my job here is just to take all of this Kirill calls it the sauce, right? He's like, you got to pull all these pieces in, and then the coach kind of puts the sauce on it, right? Which is bringing all of this recipe together, which is ideas from this player and this player and this player and this player, and putting it together in this meaningful way where you're putting the sauce on it, right? And
exactly.
The other thing I tell people, coaches who are coaching divisional teams, if they're more experienced, by not forcing each one of those players to participate in the meeting and in the process of play development and what's going on, you're actually robbing them of an opportunity for growth, right? You're taking away that opportunity they have for their voice to be heard, and for their mind to work and be thinking about the whole setup, right? Not just their job, but what that guy's job and was that, and then the whys behind all that. So the divisional, and that's really the most important part of the divisional thing, right? It's like clean up your individual skills and participate in all those meetings so you can get your brain caught up with everybody around you. And then at some point you may, if you're one of those players, you may surpass your group and move on to a new group. And if you haven't practiced that part, it can be challenging. And again, you're just not going to grow as fast. You need to participate. So
the symbiotic relationship is key. Absolutely. 100%.
Totally. All right, before we jump into this layout, forever, right? Before we jump into this layout, I want to make sure everybody knows this. I built this because I could not find it on Guns Up, so I built the layout. These guys are laughing because they've already seen it. I am not a field builder on Guns Up. I've never done this before. It's pretty good. But the snake beams have some gaps as they're supposed to be sitting against the bunker. So you guys just ignore those. They're not really there. The beam actually goes and touches the bunker. I am just not a field builder. So I apologize. Yeah.
I thought
so let's get into
great,
it.
Ryan.
Thanks.
I couldn't have done this.
My mom.
Well done. Look at that.
You're my mom telling me that, right?
I would put this on the refrigerator. Well done.
So here's the gaps, right? Here's the gaps I was talking about. Sorry about that, but just pretend like those aren't there.
It's hard.
Because they're not, everybody. Those gaps are not there.
So let's talk about kind of the shots off the break here. So, Brandon, what's your process? So, like, when you first get to the field, you walk it for the first time, where do you start?
For sure, back center. You want to go to the back center. you're working in that radius, not only the back center, but maybe off to the side a little bit, kind of where those blind shots are. And you want to know right away, what can we shoot? What can we stop? Obviously, just being a snake player, I always look at the snake, like, hey, where can we shoot this guy? Can you shoot this guy? So
no.
Yeah, this field looks crazy. Whenever a field layout comes out, everyone gets all excited, and you can look at it, but it's always hard to know what's really there and what's not. But obviously, with the NXL introducing like 87 new snake beams, the snakes are going to be big this year. So,
actually,
how do we
might
stop
be able to shoot him.
the snake?
Yeah, I'm with you, Brandon. I like to look at that pocket, and then what I like to do is I like to walk that baseline just to understand the lanes, or what I would call the threats. The first thing I notice is you're probably not going to be able to see your opponent's stack. That's kind of important to me and my players. We like to understand. We like to hide our stacks on the box as often as possible. Teams don't look like they're going to have to do that too, unless obviously they have a coach who's coddling an audible from the box. So, but that's the first thing I notice. Okay, I'm not going to be able to see the stack, so I may not know where my threats are necessarily going to be leveraged heaviest. But I also like to walk that baseline and just understand the different, what I would call access points on the baselines to each corner, and understand, okay, where are my kill zones, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or what have you. It does look like you can take the snake on the right off pretty quick off the box, but it does look like there might be a small shot there if someone can really get their gun up and drop that ball. I don't know.
Whenever you have kind of like a big structure in the middle, the good teams are always going to send paint kind of back in that direction. So maybe, step off the box, you're catching it, trying to go up there. But definitely, like, paint could come right back from base to base on a field like this.
Yeah. I would have to say that the guy running to the snake is running a 6'2", 40, and the guy coming off the box is part Kryptonian and can get off in 0.4 seconds, and his first ball is shooting hot at 305. You can probably shoot that guy, but those are the things that probably need to happen. What do you think?
Couldn't agree more.
I don't think you can shoot him. I don't think you can shoot him.
I don't think you could shoot him. I don't think.
Yeah, with where the tower is there, and right. Again, even if the guy's ghosting over on this side of the Starbucks, by the time the paint drops, the dude's going to be under it. You know what I mean?
Yep, correct.
Like, I don't think you can shoot this guy off the break.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think as a runner on the snake side, I mean, I'd much rather kind of head out to the wire where all the big things are than take that, that crawling trip around the world to try to get up there.
So you want to get in this Aztec concept so that you can be on your feet, have vision.
Preferably, right? I mean, yeah, on paper, I'm like, man, I'd much rather go out to that thing, to the corner, make my way up to the big brick, into another big brick, instead of trying to, crawl forever. But it could definitely be a two-man operation over there where, you do get one guy in the snake, a guy in this temple, and they're working it together, trying to get, two guys out here.
Yeah, that's kind of what I saw too, Brandon, is if I was playing this, I would send a guy here and then have the guy going underneath. So there is someone with eyes up who's telling that guy all the information he's going to need, so that when he gets to the place where he's going to shoot a guy, he knows right where to shoot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this side is going to be heavy tape battle. Ooh, oh yeah, there it is. All the action right there. Party time.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much in a fortress there on the, what are you, on the 20 to the 30 right there?
Oh yeah, that thing's nice.
This is a fortress here. There's not a lot of heavy threat assessment off the opposite side of the field. The immediate threat's probably going to be center more than anything, in that offset can over there. But that's about it. I mean, they're going to have to be on your side of the field before you're even, especially if you're working the wire.
I was going to say that as a either front player or even the back player, the two, like you're going to be wanting to play that wire. So looking inside, you're not doing your job correctly. So you shouldn't be getting shot from the inside. You should be tucked in nice and tight, helping out.
So I'll tell you what I saw with this snake. Yeah, is probably maybe even my 3 is going into this and releasing, up into here from here. Right, because of the way all these mini wins and where the other tower, its mirror is, you can use it to flip over and go up into this without really having to expose yourself, right? Especially if there is a guy in the Mayan and he's inside, heads up. You're going to be able to have a lot of movement up in this from out of this where you don't have to run up and potentially expose yourself to these guys over here. That's kind of what I was scanning right here.
Yeah, and the other beauty of that, we're on the same page, Ryan, in the fact that you can use this to be deceptive. You can run a rope-a-dope, right? Give the element of, hey, I'm now snake 50 or snake 40, what have you, and then my 2 who's filled in behind me is actually working this here, right? And maybe using that cut up in a sense. So you could do so many set traps and rope-a-dopes here.
Totally. Love the spot. Just got to watch
except for this hole right here.
The cracks, you got to watch.
Yeah, you get shot in this hole.
Put your pods there, guys.
Which doesn't exist.
Everyone at home right now is like, there's cracks.
Yeah. You just got to be careful not to get shot through that giant hole.
Yeah.
I know there's cracks. I'm not a field builder. I should have. Papa Sash is in the chat. I should have sent this to him and said, please make this for me and send it to me. But because he does it all the time for San Antonio X Factor for the field. I should have sent it to him. He probably would have done he would have done a much better job than me. Well, let's take a peek on the Dorito side over here. Thanks. This is sketchy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's a kill zone there. I wanted to answer this question real quick for Christian. That really depends on what your best player is, why he's the best, right? I mean, I see where you're going with that. Is it survivability that you're looking for? Is it gunfighting that you're looking for? Is it speed that you're looking for? What makes him your best player and playing him out of position on a weak side? So ask yourself those questions. Sorry.
No, I think if you watch the top teams and some of the top players, Ryan Greenspan, Alex Goldman, they're constantly in different positions. Like Mouse is a snake player, but you'll see him play the middle sometimes, the Dorito sometimes. Like you got to do whatever it takes.
Right. You leverage their strengths against that layout, right? So
whoever's
if it plays to their strengths, then So, all right, back to the topic at hand.
Yeah, Ben, it's not on Guns Up. I checked, and the layout shows mini wedges, not mini bricks. I have the layout right here. And it literally says WD. So I just did what the stupid layout said. Again, don't hang me on this deal.
We're doing our best.
Yeah. I wish it would have been on Guns Up because then I wouldn't have had to build it. So, yeah, here's kind of outside this can. This is going to be tough.
Yeah. But if you get outside, you could get lost very quickly.
Well, if the guy goes to the can, don't you think his gun would be this way?
Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is if I can get outside, if I can somehow make it to this tower, there's opportunities to wrap and go, and no one's even going to see it. I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I haven't virtually walked it yet. Since
if you can get there
it with all the gaps.
I mean, this side is kind of the same as the other side, which is get to the tapes. You do your best to get out to these tapes, because if you get inset, it looks like you could get dunked on pretty easy if you're you can try to get sneaky, but the real party is down the wires, down the tape.
No, I agree. To get there, though, it looks like it's going to be a wrap and trap, wrap and trap, wrap and trap.
Yeah. Totally, yeah.
Or at the bare minimum, wrap, check off, wrap, check off, wrap, check off. So, yeah, I think you're right, Brandon. I think you're going to see a lot of blood over here if two players make it, from both sides make it out wide and are both aggressive players. I think you're going to see some significant exchanges.
Right.
There's some traps, though, that I could see you could set here too, though. You could pull some rope or dopes as well. Get your guy to the wire, fight the wire, and set that inset trap using those mini inset bricks. Using this low, brick. God, there's a lot of things we'd have to check off here.
Yeah.
The reward of getting wide on this side, though, is
huge.
It's big. Yeah.
I bet you this is a bounce fest, too. I bet you with those Doritos like this, I bet you there's some bounce shots around here that are going to make things interesting.
Probably like
yeah,
guessing,
I mean, for sure.
Off 50 of that Dorito right into there to give that guy trouble.
Yep.
That too, right off the inside of that mini one from the cross. That's gonna be a big bounce shot.
Perhaps that Dorito one.
I really like the layup.
Yeah, this is different. This is different.
When is the first time you guys will practice this, Brandon?
So the word is we're trying to get out there the weekend before. I need to follow up and kind of see where we landed on that. Because I mean, previously we did a day practice with ourselves, but I think the goal is to try to get a solid 2-day against another team and practice. And then obviously during the week we can do some follow up, but that's the goal. The weekend before.
That's what I heard. I actually had dinner with Diego on Friday.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and he mentioned that.
So you go out there a week ahead of time?
So
you go out a week ahead of time before the event. You practice that weekend, and then you try to work the week heading up to the event?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously this is our second event. First event, we all got there Monday. Sorry, we left Monday with the time travel. You're there Tuesday. I think that's correct. Practice Tuesday, had Wednesday to walk, or maybe I'm a day off. But anyways, we got there, practiced, and right into tournament.
Maybe walk me through that a little bit while we're looking at this field layout. Like when you have what the expectation when you get the team this next event on those 2 days, what's your main focus? What's your main emphasis here? Obviously learning the layout, but what's that process like for you?
I think I want to do more scenarios. One thing that kind of bit us last tournament was we didn't really have like a good 1 minute point kind of ready to throw at them. We had an idea, but we executed very poorly on it. I think to do more scenarios like that so that I have my Rolodex and I can be like, okay, guys, we know what to do here. Let's just do it, right? Instead of trying to draw it on the fly. So just coming up with more scenarios that I know are very common to paintball and work those.
Excellent.
Oh yeah. What about that center 50? What do we think?
Yeah.
I like it.
This is like the center 50 where you're like, oh man, no one's going there. And then once in a while, someone goes up there and just completely stings you.
Mm-hmm. You can steal a couple from here.
Yeah.
Especially if you can trap teams in that camp.
No doubt. Right. Yep.
Yeah, you can steal a couple.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I was kind of looking at is, off this side of the box. shooting right over the top of the brick where the guy's going up to that can. If you're able to take him off the field right off the bat, and the back center guy shoots the tower zone, you could trap guys even doubled up in the back center, and your guy's already launching to the back to that brick, and then he's wrapping. Woo!
Yep. And now you've quite literally trapped them in a third, in a third of the field. So. Well, Can we step off into the blind on that Dorito side a little bit when you get a chance? And
sure.
The reason and get in line with that mid can. So not all the way to the tower, but right about a little bit more. Right about there. Can we walk forward a little bit? Okay. Okay.
So I have a question.
Are you looking at the shot into the snake side Mayan?
I was trying, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was practical, but you're relatively safe.
No, I think it is.
So I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
In the NXL in the US, if it came down to a one-on-one with just coaches, who's going to win the tournament on a one-on-one coach tournament? I need to know this. It's killing me.
Oh, out of all 20 coaches?
Out of all 20, who's taking it home?
Wow. See, now you got me thinking. Now I got to really think about that.
Ryan Brand plays a lot of paintball.
Imagine,
Oh, yeah, Ryan Brand. That's a good one.
I was going to say Ryan Brand. Lemansky's still going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
No way Skinny Kevin shoots anybody. Not a chance.
No, I feel pretty confident I could beat Skinny Kevin. Shane would still be good. Todd Martinez would still be good.
Todd's money.
Yeah.
Todd is money.
Yeah, Shane will be good.
Oh, man. All right. I'm going to give it to Ryan Brand.
Yeah.
I think Ryan would probably take that just because of how much paintball he plays.
There you go. Congratulations, Ryan. Come get your prize.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go start. I'm gonna have to start shoring up now, because I gotta. I hope you and Ryan and I would at least be in the top 10. I would hope.
This is not for me to decide. This is for
the viewers.
This is for Thursday, actually. Instead of walking the fields, we should all have a coaches tournament at World Cup.
I like it. Oh, out of those 10? Out of those 10, now that changes the dynamic. Oh no. that changes the dynamic a little bit. Actually, you know what? I want to hear that in the comments. Who do you think out of the top 20 pro coaches, who would win a one-on-one event? Let's go. Is Dixon Yang eligible? Money is on him.
X Factor.
Yo, I saw Dixon. Dude, Dixon played this weekend, and the dude looked like he could just slide right back in and start playing right now.
Yep. Yeah.
I think. When Dixon
went into the state,
when X Factor first went pro, I mean, he was easily top 3 player on the team, my opinion. But
yeah, I mean that's when I was coaching them.
I know. So in my opinion,
he
top
was
3 player on that
Dixon
team.
was nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty.
So were you drawing some lanes earlier here, Ryan?
Yeah, this is that shot I was talking about.
Yep. So
Off the edge of the
stepping
box
off
and then
to
the
the
back
snake
centers.
side and shooting that cross.
Yep. Back center shooting the next gap. And then that shot that we were just looking at right over the beam.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So let me ask you this. Do you guys name those positions off the box?
Yes.
Yeah.
Name the
I think
gaps.
Basically, like naming the, you call them the edger, the blind zone guys. Like we
the
always
blind
come up
zones?
with,
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the shooters area,
shooter.
not the okay. Yeah.
So we
Yes.
we always have positional names just for communication purposes. Like, hey,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
call it sometimes Kobe, LeBron. You step out in the Kobe, shoot here. Yeah, just good insight.
Yeah, I name them for sure. I know Mike does. I've heard him.
Yeah.
Purple Cobra.
Whoa. Wow. I think this little thing over here is interesting too.
What did you see?
This thing?
Like,
Oh,
you're playing guy down the wire, and then all of a sudden you flip over and you come into this.
Oof, that's scary in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's scary.
But again, look, with where the tower is, you're pretty well protected until they spy you, right? Once you get seen, you're in trouble.
Right.
I think it'll play big as the game progresses. Maybe going there as like your one all the time is a little fool's gold, but definitely.
No, I'm talking about like once. I'm talking about like once.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just kind of like the center 50. You try to sting somebody.
I can see that being used in a closing situation in low body. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'll play big.
Yeah,
that'll play real big.
It's going to
even like big, go there.
Right, to do it on like 5-on-5 or 4-on-4. Yeah, that's going to have big reward or big pain.
Oh my gosh, a lot of pain.
I don't think it's going to be in my playbook for my first 5 points. You know what I mean?
Shoot, maybe that's the key though. Go there the first 5.
Maybe
5 points.
Yeah, every time.
You got to show that. You got to show that crazy though, right? See that's something some coaches and I get a lot of pushback on this from my own guys actually, is that sometimes you have to show that crazy, right? That's right, I'm crazy. I just called that play and he just did it, and yeah, it just worked.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes the other team go, what the who in their right mind, right? So.
But you see what I mean? You can't see him.
Yeah, you can't from there.
This is the only guy, and he's still with where the cake is. He wouldn't see him until he's on your side. Like if he flips over.
And do you see a home player being there very long into the point anyway? Personally, me. I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so, based off what I'm seeing here. But so there's that's something a read the player could do. Okay, the code's there's no home, and that tower's on the straights, whatever code you want to call for that. Then it might be there, and that can be communicated easily with a single word.
I don't know. I might try it. It actually might be in my playbook in the first 5 plays. Once I tested it at practice a few times.
I like it. And here's
you gotta be careful of this gap.
Play?
Yeah, the gaps are big out
here. And here's the thing: if you have a success rate of 30%, with that play, it goes in the playbook.
Yeah. I like this layout. I mean, I want to see it played, right? But I like it. Dude, I had a hard time telling Smoltrov and the Verst guy apart because of the black jerseys, and they were wearing the same. The only way I could tell them apart is I saw Smoltrov's purple bandana sticking out, his head wrap.
Yeah. So we didn't get our jerseys on time, unfortunately. No one's fault necessarily. And so we just went to the local, I don't even know where they went, because in Europe it's hard to find anything, but somehow they found black shirts. So we were the ninjas.
Yeah,
I
that
thought it
first,
kinda
that
looked
first
cool,
match
to be
against
honest.
Droogs was tough. So, matter of fact, he even
Yeah.
fooled the commentator, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know who was who, so how would he?
It's too funny.
Anybody want to see anything else, or can I get out of this thing?
Yeah, post up if you want to see something specific. I realize we haven't gotten too in depth, but you do have, what is it? You get 4 weeks on this, don't you?
You do. Kind of interesting. They give so much time on this field out.
Meter, who's TK?
Yeah, I'd like to know that too. And yes, Paintball Lounge, we are all crazy inside. So. Love it. Well, going once, going twice, sold to exiting, if you want. I still want to know who TK is, though.
He's the guy that runs to the little fool's gold snake off the break. For sure.
Tro's crew.
Oh,
Okay,
Tro's
Tro's
crew.
crew. Got it. Yeah, I got it. Is it Jason Trozen?
Yeah.
Love it.
The
Jason
center
Trozen,
is
for sure.
interesting.
Yeah, the center is makeable, and possibly some points will be stolen from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got notification that Clint Johnson won the play of the move for the preliminary rounds.
Played
Is that
Like
when
the
he
move
jumped-
of the prelims.
Jumped over the snake.
Well, he had 2 of them to choose from.
I don't know which one they thought was the best. So he had one where he shot Archie Barnes. Magic comes into the snake. He jumps over the beam, shoots Magic, and then shoots Markey. Shoots somebody out of the far wing, and then ran down, shot the Dorito guy, and then went and touched it. He shot all 5 guys. And then
That's
he had
the
another one
because
against
the other one was against Russians, right? Where he
Infamous.
was falling forward, or infamous. He's
It was
falling
Infamous.
forward, shoots one, single hand gats another, then
Yeah.
does a pirouette, and I think it had to be against Notorious.
It was, well, the second one was Infamous. He runs through
It's like, not
the middle, like falls over the beam. He runs through the middle of like box to box, not the outside. Like trips over the beam while he's falling, shoots the guy in the brick in the butt, and then as he's getting up, shoots the guy out of the snake side tower, turns on, or like with one hand, turns and shoots the snake guy, and then whips back around and shoots the Dorito guy. Like it's just chaos, right? Like did not look well set up, but the one against Notorious it looked really clean, really clean. Yeah, center.
I kind of like that assessment, Chris. Valid point.
Yeah, true, for sure. Yeah, the center is.
Valid, I would.
Yeah, make that decision early.
Precarious. Yeah, it's precarious. So, I like it. Excellent. Man.
All
What are you
right,
thinking here?
that's it. That's
Brandon,
it.
is there anything
You walked
besides your coaching question? Do you have any other things that you wanted to get off your chest? Anything else you want to share? Shout out
No,
to the
I mean, I
sponsors.
just think this is great. You guys have this, corner of the world to talk about not only paintball, but more importantly, paintball coaching. I think you guys are awesome. I'm very honored to be here. It says on episode 32, is that right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Kind of weird. My late great friend Bobby Avila's, his number was 32. So some things are meant to be, and I'm just so happy to be here. And thank you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
That is Bobcat.
miss
was a
him.
good guy.
He was another one of those guys that when you saw him walking at you, you felt better.
Just the best.
He was
That's the energy.
Yeah, like I'm gonna get a hug and we're gonna catch up, and
Yeah.
he was, and he would talk to you as long as you wanted to talk to him. He was never that guy, even though he had 100 things going on. He was never the guy to cut it short. You
Nope.
know, he
was everyone's best
spend the
friend.
time.
I know.
Yeah,
I miss him.
really
Miss
He
him
was
a lot.
awesome.
I know.
He got me out of a spot in California, that's for sure.
Yeah? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I'll
A lot
share
of good
that story
stories.
sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of good stories with Bobby.
Not that Coach ever got into trouble.
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
This is the last
So,
question. So Edric says, what do you guys look for when you're searching for new talent in the pros and divisional? We've answered this question, I think, several times, but coachability, be a good human being, pay attention, do the work, right? I normally look for guys that are a little more blue collar, just because they have a tendency to really understand hard work, that come from hard backgrounds. A lot of times guys from the Midwest, for some reason, just because they grow up in a shitty area where they have to shovel a foot of snow just to go get a gallon of milk. They have a tendency sometimes to be a little harder. But the reality is just be a good human being and do the work. That's my thought. Mike?
Like you said, we've answered this several times, and I don't, other than saying that I think I look for Southern men because they show the resilience in some of the hottest weather in the world and mosquitoes. And,
For sure.
So, but no, I'm 100% with you. They must be coachable. They must be a good human being. They must have a good heart. They must have good intention, good virtue, good moral compass, and want to be there. They want to do better, and they recognize that they can always do better. So they're constantly giving 100%. That's what I look for. So
yeah,
I can
Brandon?
teach you how to gunfight. I can teach you how to play paintball. I can't give you a work ethic. So.
Yeah.
I think you guys hit it on the head, obviously, with the most important things. I think from maybe a playing standpoint, I always tell young guys, be that guy who can push the limits, push the boundaries, who's always moving forward. Because it's really easy to reel it back, but it's very hard if you're a player who's not aggressive to become aggressive. So I said the easiest way to get attention from any pro team is be that kid that goes down the snake and shoots everybody, because they can teach you the rest, but you got to get on their radar, and that's just the fastest way. So, push the limits a little bit out there aggressively on the field.
Yeah, be ballistic.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, hang around. We'll talk to you in the green room as soon as we're done.
Nice. I'm looking forward to the snacks.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Coaches Show. Thank you to Guns Up for the use of the software, Major League Paintball for all the support of the show, Alex Sorensen, Kevin Fillers, and Tom Cole. If you want to elevate your game, get the best knowledge in paintball at bkipaintball.com. The show has been brought to you by Max Sportswear. When needed, get maxed. I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. Be responsible.
You know what that is? Discipline. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Let's fucking do this. Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You got to be a champion, become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.